Hey, welcome back. How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Good, good. So how was the homework?
Didn't really have any issues with that.
Okay. Things getting a little bit easier with the driving?
Yeah, I'm noticing that. Yeah, it's just kind of bit by bit.
Okay. So how are you feeling like it's getting you anywhere, getting you able to do more things, go more places?
Well, I'm trying to be as proactive as I can about it.
Okay.
So, like I said, I'm just kind of gritting my teeth and going through it. But I feel like like I said, I'm just trying to be much more proactive about
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Well, just like the earlier ones that you did, I know you're sort of gritting your teeth to get through it, but remember the earlier ones, the easier ones got easy really fast. This one was a tougher one, so it's going to take a little more time. When you're gritting your teeth, you might want to think about just not gritting your teeth and seeing if you still feel anxious while you're doing that, and,
Right.
and just let the exposure kind of take its course,
Okay.
and it'll get easier too. It's just a tougher one. There's a
Right.
whole lot more stimuli associated with driving than some of the other things that you did.
Right.
So it'll get easier. How about the imaginal exposure? Listening to the tape.
That's also kind of a bizarre experience.
Is it?
It's
Yeah.
it's just it's new to hear myself.
So it still feels a little awkward even after.
Even just hearing myself describing those things,
Yeah.
it's I guess I don't really know how to describe it.
Okay. Well, by now you've gone through that. So, this is session 6, so we've kind of done it for the last 3 sessions. You've been listening pretty
Right.
consistently, and I got to say, you're doing great sticking with the homework, even though it's been tough for you. I do notice on your sheets that the homework is starting to get it's not easy, but it's like you're just kind of able to just listen, and you're not having as many high peaks as you had before.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things we start looking for at this point in treatment as we get ready to do hot spots. And I know we talked a little bit about that last time we met, because I told you we were going to start that this week. So let me tell you a little bit about what we do when we get to this phase of treatment. We start focusing on hot spots. Okay. So when we get this far, you've done the imaginal exposure many times now. You've gone through the story. You've revisited that memory. It's gotten a bit more organized. You really have kind of a pattern of telling it now. You've gotten a lot of details included and kind of organized. And now at this point, we start to look for the places in that story that really hold all the emotion for you. There are usually certain points in a trauma narrative when we tell it, but also even when the trauma happens, it doesn't just all happen at once. And once a trauma starts, it's not equally intense the whole time that it's happening, as you know. There are points in the story that are harder. And in those points, there usually are a whole lot more details to track and a whole lot more emotions to track than there are in the other bits of the story. So as if you kind of think of it as a scene, going from action to action, there's sort of a lull and a peak and a lull. And your suds kind of bear that out. We see them kind of peaking and falling a little bit as you tell the story. So what we do when we do hotspots is we try to focus in on those pieces of the story that really carry all the emotion. And we're trying to really flesh them out. As you're telling it, there's almost not time to really let yourself focus in on all those details, because you're going from detail to detail, and you're kind of carrying the action forward as you're talking. And so we're going to really slow it down. It's almost like we're taking a magnifying glass and we're really zooming in just on that little piece of the trauma, so that we can really start to include all those emotional details, all of the details in the scene that you remember, but also just trying to pull them, sort of draw them out so that you can sit with them a bit. You remember when we talked about how exposure works? We really want you to be doing this in a prolonged way, so that you can kind of hold those emotions and sit with them for a bit, because that really helps you connect them with all the other parts of the story, and it helps you really understand the meaning of it. When you're telling it up to now, you can kind of speed past that part, so the emotion kind of comes up for a second and goes past. We're going to really sit with it. So I'm going to ask you now, I'm looking at your Imaginal exposure record from last time. And I'm seeing some peaks here, but I want you to tell me, what are the parts of this trauma that are hardest for you as you're telling it or listening to it?
And definitely when I first saw Thomas.
Okay, so that was when you had gotten out of the vehicle, you'd gone up and you saw
Right.
how injured he was?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that's one of the ones I'm noticing too. Anything else that you can recall as you tell it that's particularly difficult or particularly packed with emotion?
Yeah, I was carrying him to the medevac site.
Let me write that one. Okay. Anything else that comes to mind?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm looking at the record and I'm kind of tracking the kinds of detail that you were giving when the suds were really high. And I noticed that there's a bit of a peak around when you heard the initial explosion. Is that part
Yeah.
a hot spot, you think? That's fair to say? Okay, so we have three. We have the explosion, the initial explosion. We have when you saw Thomas for the first time, and then the last one is when you're taking him to the medevac site and trying to sort of wrap things up. When you're thinking about those 3 points, which one is hardest?
I think Corporal Thomas.
Okay, all right, so that's where we're going to start, all right? Just like when we chose the trauma itself, starting with the worst really gives us more of all the themes and details and everything of the story. So if we do this one, it may actually make the other ones easier too. So we'll start with that one. And then after we're done with this one, we'll reassess those other 2 and see if we still need to revisit them as well. Is this making sense to you?
It does.
Okay, so you think about it in a way, one of my colleagues used to say it was kind of like ironing a shirt. You know, you can iron the whole shirt and you get all the wrinkles out, but there's just one spot that really got wadded up and messed up, and so you really have to go over that one in much more detail with a lot more heat and a lot more time, so you can really get it smooth and really get it looking the way it needs to look. And this story is that way too. We're going to hit those spots. Okay? So we're going to do in the same way we do regular imaginal exposure, except it's going to be a lot shorter.
Okay.
So I'm going to have you start with that hot spot, tell it all the way through, and then when we get to the end of it, I'm going to ask you just to start again, and you're going to start with the hot spot again. So we're not going to tell the whole trauma in this session. We'll do it more times because it's shorter, and this is where that prolonged and repeated comes in. This is going to give you a chance to really revisit this a lot during this session. Now, the other thing that I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be trying to help you slow down, because I know this is, there's a lot of action happening. You could really tell this very quickly. I'm going to get you to slow down and just sit with the emotions and check out the detail, make sure you're including everything in there. So I might be a lot more, in some ways, intrusive in kind of prompting you to give me a little more detail if that's needed. If you're already giving it to me, I'll be quiet and let you go. Okay?
Okay.
All right, any questions?
So where am I supposed to start?
Okay, let's see. It probably makes sense not to start at the hottest point of the story. So maybe a minute before, like how would it be if you started after the explosions happened and you got out of the vehicle to go check on the other vehicle?
Okay.
And then I'm going to ask you, where should you stop? Where is sort of when it starts to dissipate a bit and you're moving to the next part of the story?
I don't know, I guess when Travis showed me the wire.
Okay, so that's going to be, you know what? Let's tell it. And if we need to adjust in any, we've got time to do that. This is, in some ways us picking the hottest spot. And if it turns out we need to add some more detail or take away some of that, we'll do that. But let's do that for now. You'll start just as you get out of the vehicle, and then as Chavez calls you over to come, he says to come show you something. That'll be the end of it, and you're moving on to a next thing then. Okay. All right. Go ahead and get comfortable in your seat, and take a breath, and then when you're ready, when you get your eyes closed and kind of you might want to take a minute to get the whole scene in your mind, since we're kind of starting in the middle this time. Okay. Would you go ahead and close your eyes? I'm going to ask you your suds again. What's your suds?
70.
By the way, I might ask you suds a little more frequently since this is a short clip. We'll see how it goes, but I'll try not to interrupt your flow. So you just give me the number and keep going, okay? All right. You're getting out of the vehicle.
I'm getting out of the vehicle. There's just a dust and smoke everywhere.
What are you feeling?
I just feel like my skin is crawling.
Mm-hmm. What do you see?
I see the vehicle. It's completely bent in half. There's just bits and pieces of it that are scattered around and some smoke. I see Jameson. He's on the side of the road. I see his leg and it's all fucked up.
What do you feel?
I don't know, I just feel like I was kicked in the gut. I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Okay. What are you thinking?
Just thinking that these are my guys.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What happens next?
I see Corporal Thomas. He's in the front of the vehicle. He's still inside. He's bleeding from the head.
What are you thinking when you see that?
I don't know what to think. I don't know what the heck I'm supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
It just keeps getting worse the more I see him. His face is just all jacked up. His Kevlar is completely torn off. I see him holding his stomach and it's just bubbling out.
Mm-hmm.
And the doc gets over there. He tells me to put direct pressure on his arm.
Mm-hmm.
Throws a tourniquet around his arm.
Okay, slow down a bit. What are you feeling as you're doing that?
I don't know how to help him.
Mm-hmm.
tourniquet just seems so fucking pointless. His dog is just moving plastic and trying to pack in all of his wounds with gauze.
What are you smelling?
Just this sweet, burnt, just like this burning trash.
Mm-hmm.
It just starts exposing the wound more and more, and it's just I just feel like I'm gonna fucking puke.
Mm-hmm. What are you doing?
I'm trying to tighten the tourniquet around his arm.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels so pointless. The smell is just, I just feel like I'm just gonna end up puking, so I turn around, I call it in.
Okay.
Call for medevac. They say QRF will be there in about 10 minutes. Chavez comes over and he shows me where the wire is on the side of the road.
Okay. Stop there. Can you give me a suds?
60.
I want you to go back again. I'm going to go through this a bunch more, but you're doing great. This is going to be helpful. I know it's hard, but you're doing great. Get ready to get out of the vehicle.
I'm getting out of the vehicle. It's smoky. I see the second vehicle. It's bent in half. It's smoky. There's this chemical smell.
Mm-hmm.
Look over, I see Jameson. His leg is all messed up, and Chavez is looking over him. His pants are all bloody.
Mm-hmm.
I look over, and I see Corporal Thomas. He's still in the vehicle. The doors are blown off.
Describe what else you see.
There's just bits and pieces just scattered all over the place. Bits of road scattered all over the place. I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do when I see him.
Mm-hmm. What are you feeling when you see him?
I don't know, it just feels like the floor just got dropped out from underneath me, and I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do.
Okay, slow down a bit and just sit with that for a second and tell me what you feel in your body as you see him.
I don't know, my heart is just pounding.
Mm-hmm.
My skin feels like it's crawling. I just feel like I can't breathe.
Okay. And what are you thinking?
I don't know, I feel responsible.
Okay. happens next?
I come over to Corporal Thomas. I see how bad his head looks. The top of his head just looks flat, like it's just... like something was just grinding it flat.
Can you give me a sense?
About a 90 right now.
Okay. What else do you see?
The right side of his face is messed up. Just looks just looks chunky.
Mm-hmm.
And I see his stomach, and it's just eviscerated.
Okay.
He's got his hand over his stomach that's just ballooning out.
Mm-hmm.
Doc gets over and he just says, "Oh fuck." He tells me to start applying direct pressure to his arm.
Mm-hmm.
And gives me a tourniquet. He starts handing me gauze to try to pack in all the different wounds, and he's throwing plastic around his stomach and around his head, and he has no idea what the heck he's supposed to do first, and I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do.
What are you doing?
I'm just trying to tighten his tourniquet.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to expose the wound on his arm more and more. It just looks worse and worse.
What do you see?
It's just his stomach.
Mm-hmm.
It's bleeding a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of pooling up around his pants.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that smell. I can't. It's just, I just feel like I'm gonna puke. So
Mhm.
I turn back. I call it in.
Mm-hmm.
I call it in that we have 4 injured to 1 expected. I say the QRF will be there in about 10-15 minutes.
Okay.
And Chavez showed me where the wire is.
Okay. Let's stop there. Okay, you did a great job. I know that was tougher to really look at those details like that. But you did great. Just take a breath. What's your suds?
55.
Okay. I want you to go back to the beginning and let's do this again.
Okay. I get out of the vehicle. It's smoky. I see the second vehicle. The doors are blown off. It's smoking. I look over and I see Jameson.
Mm-hmm.
Jameson, he's laying on the side of the road. His leg is messed up. There's blood all over his pants. I turn and I see Corporal Thomas. He's still in the vehicle. I stand there. I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
What's your suds?
65.
Okay.
I go over to him. I see his head. On top of his head is flat. There's blood coming down. His side of his right face is all messed up. It just looks chunky. I see his stomach, and it's ballooning out.
Mm-hmm.
The doc comes over, and he says, "Ah, fuck." He tells me to apply direct pressure to his arm, and he hands me a tourniquet.
What are you feeling?
I'm feeling that it's pointless. I think he's dead.
Mm-hmm. And what are you doing?
I'm telling him that it's gonna be okay. I keep tightening the tourniquet and I keep exposing the wound more and more. I look down and Doc is handing me gauze, using plastic to cover up his stomach. I start smelling the sweet smell. I feel like I'm gonna puke. Turn around, I go over to call it in. QRF tells us that they'll be in about 10-15 minutes.
Okay.
I report that we have 4 injured, 1 expectant. Chavez comes over and he shows me where the wire is.
Okay. What's your suds?
55.
Let's stop there. Okay. I see you shaking your head. What are you thinking?
Don't know, I should have seen the wire.
You should have seen the wire.
I don't know, I should have known that it was an IED when we saw the dog. I don't know, I don't know, I don't know what was, I just don't understand why it wasn't clicking in my head.
You think you should have seen the dog and somehow known that there was a wire attached to it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You're thinking. What are you thinking?
It's just,
You look like you're still there.
yeah, I should have seen the wire.
You should have seen the wire?
Yes.
That's where your head's at right now?
Yes.
Okay, tell me about that.
It was just when Chavez showed me the wire, I mean, it was just so shallow. It was just off the side of the road. I mean, and I don't know why it wasn't clicking in my head.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know why it didn't click in my head when I first saw the dog. I just,
You think you could have seen the wire?
yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. but you didn't.
No, I don't know what it was. It's just the whole entire day. I just knew something was gonna happen. It's just I just felt that the entire day, and I don't know what it was. It's just I don't know where my head was at.
Okay. Yeah, there were a few times as you were doing this part, and you said it other times we've done imaginal exposure, but it seemed really critical today where you said, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. What was that about? I mean, what does that mean, that you don't know what you're supposed to do?
I didn't know how I was supposed to help. It's just, you know, I tell my guys all the time that it's stupid shit like that that gets people killed.
Mm-hmm. There was a lot to respond to.
Yeah, well, I saw it.
You saw?
I saw the dog. I should have known what
Okay.
was going to happen. And like I said, I just don't know why it didn't click in my head. It was just, that was my responsibility. It was my responsibility to keep them safe.
Mm-hmm. So seeing the dog, you should have somehow known that it was an IED.
Right.
Okay. Is that typical to see? I mean, was that always connected with something like that, or?
I mean, there was always something. It was always, like I was telling you, it was just it's just this established pattern to treat
Mm-hmm.
that piece of trash that's lying there, treat that pothole, treat
Mm-hmm.
that car tire that's on fire over there.
Mm-hmm.
That's an IED.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't treat it that way, then people that I'm responsible for
Mm-hmm.
get hurt.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. And it's stupid shit that I know. Like I said, I don't know what it was. It just wasn't clicking in my brain.
Okay. All right. You told me before that this was an area that was pretty messed up already, that there was already a lot of debris and a lot of sort of broken bits of things and parts of vehicles and broken building parts and things like that around. So that's something you already knew about this, but you feel like still you should have picked out the dog in particular as something that you should have seen?
Right.
Okay. All right. Was there anything else about this hotspot that you noticed that was different than when we told it before? When we worked on it before?
I don't know. I guess it was difficult to do. It wasn't easy, but I guess I started feeling it not being as intense the more times that I was going through it.
Mm-hmm.
It still wasn't pleasant.
One of the things that I noticed you, in some of the times that you told it, you mentioned, and then other times you didn't, is when you were putting the tourniquet on, you were talking to him. Was he alert?
I have no idea.
You don't know. You were saying to him, you're going to be all right. What was that like to say that to him? What was driving that as you were saying that?
I don't know. It felt pointless.
It felt
It
pointless?
felt pointless.
But you did it anyway. Why would you do it anyway?
Because he's my brother.
You were hoping he could hear you?
Yes, ma'am.
And what would that do for him?
I'm going to calm him down and let him know that I'm going to take care of him.
Okay. So you weren't sure if he could hear you or not, but you wanted to make sure that you were taking care of him and he knew that.
Right.
That at least he felt that even if you didn't. Okay. Anything else about this story that stands out?
No, nothing else that I can think of.
You know, I hear what you're saying about feeling like you should have done something to make it stop. That seems like a big theme here for you. At the same time, though, I'm hearing you tell it, and the parts that you almost tell without fail every time you've told the story are the things that you did that you were supposed to do. So you got out of the vehicle, you did the protocol to to assess the wounded, you followed the medic's instructions with the tourniquet, you called it in, you did. It sounds to me like you were doing the things that you were supposed to be doing, things you've been trained to do, even though in your head you were saying, I don't know what to do, and there are so many things to respond to here, I don't know what to do first. Is that kind of what you meant by that? Like there's so many things?
I think so.
Okay. I mean, when you think about it, does that seem like a dysynchrony to you, or does that match up for you? I mean, you didn't know what you were supposed to be doing in your head. You were confused. There were too many things to respond to, and yet, as I'm hearing you, you were responding, going from one thing to the next, doing what you needed to do as the leader of this group, and then in the end, taking care of your guy, even though you were about to puke. That's what I saw. That's what I heard. You did a great job with this.
Thank you.
We're going to do it again next time. We're going to keep going with it because I think there's a lot here. What do you think? Is there a lot here?
Yeah, it's your name on the diploma, so it's,
Yeah, well, but it's your life and it's your story. And it's your 90s suds that I'm hearing. And that's making me feel like there's a lot here. Does it still feel like there's a lot here for you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I want to keep going with it, and I want you to listen to this one this week, as you've been doing with your other Imaginal exposure homework. And you don't have to, there's no right answers here. There's no themes or things we have to pull out of this. So if the things that I'm noticing might not be important to you. But as you're listening, see if, there are other things that you notice. I mean, I can't imagine being in a scene like that and not having lots of different thoughts, and I know you are too. And that might be where some of that, I don't know what to do first, comes from, because there are so many things to respond to. So just listen and keep track of your suds, and then when you come in next week, we're going to do it again. We're going to keep going with this until we figure it all out. Okay? You did good.
Thank you.
All right, we'll shift gears. We'll look at the rest of the in vivos and see where we need to go with that too, okay?
Okay.
All right.